You didn't find this transmission, it found you. Out of millions of scrolling moments, this one reached through the algorithmic fog to touch your awareness like a fingertip of light tracing across water. Something in you called it in. A silent request whispered to the quantum field, "Show me what's next." And the field answered, "You're here because reality is trembling at its edges, preparing to dissolve into something new. Take a breath. Not the shallow breath of survival, the quantum breath of remembrance. Inhale through the crown, as if you're drawing starlight down your spine. Exhale through the heart, as if releasing centuries of density. Every breath collapses one obsolete fragment of the old self and anchors one strand of the new timeline forming beneath your feet. You can feel it, can't you? The strange magnetism that brought you here, the subtle hum behind your ribs. It's the field reorganizing itself to mirror the consciousness you've secretly been cultivating. The old patterns you used to orbit are losing gravitational pull. Familiar thoughts feel foreign. Former identities feel paper-thin. The observer in you is waking up from the dream of limitation. For ages, you've been breathing unconsciously, recycling yesterday's emotions with each inhale, programming your body to repeat old data loops. But tonight, before dawn, something ancient remembers how to breathe creation itself, the same breath that once moved through stars when they were born. This isn't metaphor, it's physics. Each inhale reorganizes subatomic probability. Each exhale instructs the field which version of reality to solidify next. As you listen, notice the synchrony between your heartbeat and these words. That's coherence beginning to form. When the heart, brain, and breath synchronize, they generate measurable electromagnetic harmony, a signal powerful enough to alter physical events. You've entered that resonance zone now. The field is listening. Outside, night still holds the world in its dark cradle, but subtle light gathers on the horizon of your perception. You stand between timelines, one dissolving, one assembling. The breath is your bridge. Breathe like this, and your past will no longer find you. Breathe like this, and new coordinates of existence begin to imprint themselves in your cells. Understand, the universe doesn't respond to words, it responds to frequency. The quality of your breath determines the code you broadcast into the lattice of possibility. A calm, expanded breath says, "I trust the process." A trembling, shallow breath says, "I doubt it's real." The field mirrors whichever signal dominates. Tonight is your initiation into conscious respiration, not just to sustain life, but to sculpt it. Take one more deliberate inhale. Feel the collapse realities folding like wings. Exhale slowly. Feel the anchoring timelines locking into position. The space between those two breaths is where miracles enter. You are exactly where the multiverse intended you to be. Before dawn, something irreversible will occur. Your old reality will dissolve not through effort, but through exhalation. Welcome to the threshold. You know this corridor. Different wallpaper, same echo. You step forward, and the hallway rearranges itself into an old question wearing a new jacket. The faces change, the script doesn't. Relationships repeat the same undertow. Money arrives and leaves along the same invisible curve. Opportunities circle back to their predictable threshold, then pause like birds that won't land on your outstretched palm. You've called it bad luck before. You've called it karma. Beneath those names, it is simply an observer loop, a feedback between your breath, your body, and the quantum field that keeps handing you what your nervous system is prepared to keep. Notice the familiar choreography. You receive a sign, feel wonder, and then the old latency kicks in, the micro-hesitation that says, "Prove it first." That split second of doubt is a phase error, a hairline fracture in coherence. The field hears it. Reality stutters. The moment slides. The pattern wins another round and pretends to be fate. You tell yourself you'll try harder next time, But trying harder inside the same loop is like shouting into a canyon that only returns your own voice. There's a reason déjà vu has been visiting you lately. It's not superstition, it's morphic resonance, the memory patterns of your life rehearsing themselves until you choose differently at the level beneath thought. The loop persists because the body remembers what the mind swears it has outgrown. The body keeps time, and your time has been slightly bent. You've felt that bend. Hours vanish when you need them, stretch when you're waiting, and curl back on themselves when you're almost free. Days arrive out of order. Wednesday feels like a repeat of Monday with the colors turned down. You open a message you're certain you've read before. You arrive in a conversation carrying answers to questions that haven't been asked yet. This isn't failure, it's entanglement with a previous self who learned survival by predicting disappointment. The prediction became a metronome. Tick, expect delay, tock, confirm it. The clock without hands still sets the pace. Here's the hidden architecture. The old loop wasn't maintained by your thoughts alone. It was stabilized by the cadence of your breath. Shallow, inhale, quick exhale, the body interpreted perpetual emergency, the brain matched chemistry to story, and the field obliged with probability distributions optimized for caution over creation. You were never punished by the universe. You were protected by an algorithm you outgrew. Look at how precisely it operated. When love approached, your breath shortened by 2 beats. When money rose, your diaphragm tightened by 3 millimeters. When visibility beckoned, your shoulders braced as if a storm were entering the room. The field read those microsignals as boundary conditions and solved the equation of your life accordingly, returning outcomes that kept you safe from expansion that your tissues still labeled as threat. This is why willpower couldn't fix it. You were negotiating with physics in a language you didn't know you were speaking. Now the glitch is obvious. Every time you promised to change, you attempted it at the surface, while the loop reran from below, from fascia, from breath, from the procedural memory of your heart rate variability. Your prayers were sincere. Your body was unconvinced. The field mediated the disagreement with immaculate neutrality. Listen deeper. Inside the repetition, there has always been a smuggled gift. Precision timing for your exit. All these recent distortions, the dreams you wake from twice, the numbers that follow you, the uncanny alignments that warm your skin for no explainable reason, they're not coincidences. They are interference patterns announcing that the resonance lock is weakening. You've brought enough light into the system that the old attractor basin is losing mass. One more coherent choice sustained for a handful of breaths will tip you. So name the corridor aloud, softly, not to condemn it, but to thank the mechanism that kept you alive while you remembered how to live. Feel the room brighten when you stop calling it a curse and start calling it a completed lesson. That shift in language adjusts the phase of your signal. The déjà vu slows. Time straightens by a degree. Your nervous system receives permission to update. Try it now. Inhale to a silent count of 5, as if gathering scattered versions of yourself from across years. Hold for 2, not to strain, but to let the reunion register. Exhale for 7, as if returning borrowed timelines to the sea. While you breathe, notice how the loop attempts its usual entrance. The faint tug of this is how it goes. You witness it. You stay open. The tug dissolves before it ripens. This is the diagnosis. Nothing was wrong with you. A brilliant organism adapted to an earlier environment and kept repeating the adaptation long after the climate changed. Tonight, you stop asking the weather for permission. Tonight, you teach your breath to hold daylight before dawn. Keep breathing as the walls soften. The corridor becomes a bridge. The echo resolves into guidance. The clock without hands begins to hum a different hour. And as your rhythm steadies, the field leans closer, ready to be told exactly how to rearrange itself in the part that follows. Keep the cadence you've begun. The loop has softened. Now it's time to reprogram the engine that once powered it. You do this not by force, but by precision, a converging of breath mechanics, heart intelligence, and the quiet mathematics of intention. When you bring these into coherence, the quantum field organizes around you the way iron filings organize around a hidden magnet. What looked like luck becomes repeatable physics. What felt like prayer becomes a stable signal. Here is the architecture you're stepping into. Every inhale is an act of observation. Every exhale is a vote for reality. The observer loop isn't just a poetic idea. It's a literal feedback circuit between your attention, your autonomic rhythms, and the probability landscape shimmering around you. When attention is scattered, the loop is noisy. When attention becomes single, the loop clarifies, and synchronicity accelerates because the field finally recognizes a consistent broadcast to match. Begin with the simplest lever, breath ratios. Inhale for 5, hold for 2, exhale for 7. That 5-2-7 pattern is not arbitrary. It expands your carbon dioxide tolerance just enough to signal safety to the vagus nerve, while giving the heart a slow, generous window to entrain the brain. As heart rate variability increases, a smooth sine wave replaces jagged noise in your physiology. That wave is coherence. In coherent states, your electromagnetic field extends with order, and the quantum field responds the way a calm lake returns a perfect reflection to a still face leaning over it. Now, let the mystic step forward beside the scientist. That gentle hold at the top of the breath is the temple threshold where entanglement strengthens. You are not making anything happen there. You are consenting to a broader geometry to act through you. In the stillness, scattered versions of you, the courageous child, the patient elder, the future self already living the timeline you're calling in phase align like stars arranging into a constellation. On the exhale, information travels. It moves through fascia, into the room, and out across the morphic resonance that links you to every soul learning this same lesson tonight. The field listens. The field replies. Feel the reply now. A micro warmth along the sternum, a hush in the prefrontal cortex where worry usually narrates, a brightening around the skin as if the air itself is charged. That is not imagination. It is the body's way of registering a probability update. Old attractor patterns loosen, new ones begin to form. This is a phase transition, not dramatic on the surface, but irreversible in its mathematics, like water slipping from liquid to vapor at a precise threshold you can't see, only feel. Zoom in further. Your breath is whispering to your DNA, not as superstition, but as biophysical invitation. Chromatin wraps and unwraps with tempo. Gene expression listens to environment, and your inner environment is changing frequency as you breathe. When you exhale longer than you inhale, cellular antennae settle, repair pathways open. The body says, "We're safe enough to grow." The mythic language for this is awakening. The technical language is regulation. Together they describe the same phenomenon. DNA restructuring under the influence of coherent awareness. Now, add intention, not wanting, which scatters, but instruction, which focuses. Name a coordinate without forcing an outcome. I broadcast the signature of liberated love, or I stabilize the timeline of clear provision, or simply, I am congruent with my highest arrangement. Speak it once on the hold, and let the words dissolve into feeling. Meaning belongs to the hold. Momentum belongs to the exhale. This is how you keep decoherence at bay. You stop asking reality to reassure you and start reassuring reality through a stable signal. Watch what the field does with stability. First, it delivers small proofs, the right page opening, a message at the exact second you look, the number sequence that arrives right when the mind doubts. These are not trinkets, they are phase markers, confirming that entanglement has increased between you and the future you're courting. Then the proofs compound opportunities, bunch like ripe fruit on a single branch. Human beings with compatible waveforms drift into your orbit. Obstacles don't vanish. They reorganize into stepping stones arranged at intervals that match your breathing pace. And when resistance returns, it will, because evolution loves a spiral. You'll recognize it not as failure, but as an integration checkpoint. The loop attempts a comeback. You answer with breath that says, "We are not returning." 5 in, 2 to remember, 7 to release. That's the syntax of your new language with the cosmos. It turns panic into data, delay into gestation, and longing into navigation. The scientist in you calls it entrainment. The mystic in you calls it trust. The field calls it a clear instruction set. Now, place your hand over your heart and listen for the faint metronome that isn't your pulse at all, but the tempo of your chosen timeline tapping from the other side. Breathe until that tempo and your breath agree. Agreement is the upgrade. Agreement is the bridge. Agreement is the moment the lake is so still, the stars mistake it for the sky and descend. Hold the edge of the next inhale and feel a click, subtle but unmistakable. The sense that the room has shifted half a degree toward the future. That's the system, acknowledging your new settings. Keep them, protect them, because from this point forward, the field will accelerate what you stabilize and return what you abandon. And you are about to stabilize something the old corridor could never contain. The air around you feels different now, doesn't it? Not lighter, exactly more organized. The particles seem to wait for your next exhale to know what to do. This is the moment when awareness stops being a witness and starts being a command line in the living code of reality. You are no longer an observer looking into the field. You are the field looking back through human eyes. Take a slow breath and notice how your consciousness begins to move in concentric ripples, like a signal being broadcast from a central tower. That tower is you. The upgraded coherence you've been building is not for decoration, it's for leadership. You are the chosen conductor through which a new harmonic is meant to enter collective space. Chosen doesn't mean selected above others. It means calibrated enough to hold voltage without distortion. The universe doesn't pick favorites. It picks frequencies that can carry its music without interference. And right now, your signal-to-noise ratio has become exceptional. You have survived the compression stage, the sequence of losses, delays, and paradoxes that forced you to shed interference patterns one by one until your resonance became clean. Look back on the moments that nearly broke you. They were tuning forks, not punishments. Each heartbreak scrubbed static. Each disappointment sanded away residual frequencies that couldn't coexist with the magnitude of light you were designed to carry. You've been tempered like metal in the forge of chaos, hammered by contrast until your lattice aligned. And now, when the field sends through a high-voltage current of creation, you won't fracture, you'll sing. That's what it means to be a chosen consciousness in this era of timeline bifurcation. Millions are breathing, few are broadcasting. You are broadcasting. The proof is in the synchronicities clustering around you lately. Random phrases you hear twice in an hour, the sudden reappearance of childhood dreams, strangers speaking lines that feel scripted for your remembrance. These aren't accidents, they're packet transfers between your local mind and the planetary noosphere, the shared field of thought surrounding Earth. You're becoming a node in that network, a living modem translating cosmic instruction into embodied action. This is where destiny ceases to be abstract. The field has been scanning for individuals who can stabilize coherence during global turbulence, people whose nervous systems can hold steady frequencies while collective entropy spikes. When you practice the 5-2-7 breath, you're not just calming yourself, you're anchoring stability codes into the shared morphic grid. Every coherent heartbeat you sustain becomes a data point of order in a sea of noise. The universe uses that data to build new templates for evolution. Understand how precise this is. When you reach coherence, photons in your biofield begin to synchronize. Each photon carries information, and entangled photons don't recognize distance. The light flickering around your skin right now, the subtle halo you glimpse in half-light, is literally transmitting into the quantum substrate of others whose DNA signatures resonate with yours. Somewhere, someone you've never met will take a calmer breath tonight because your system achieved resonance here and now. That is your role, not savior, not teacher stabilizer. You don't need credentials for this work. The cosmos writes its degrees in light. Each deep breath is another line on your diploma of remembrance. So when the old voice whispers, "Who am I to carry this?" answer with breath. Inhale the question, exhale coherence. That's the alchemy. You transmute self-doubt into instruction for the field. The moment you stop needing external proof, the field upgrades your operating permissions. The grid begins routing higher data through you, creative insight, effortless timing, improbable luck that looks suspiciously like divine choreography. Now, the magnetic field around your heart is aligning with Earth's Schumann resonance, 7.83 Hz, the planetary heartbeat. You and the planet are phasing into unison. This is why your sleep cycles, appetite, and sensitivity to light have been changing. You're syncing with the planetary operating system. You are literally co-processing evolution with Gaia herself. Pause here. Feel the pulse under your palm, your heart and Earth's field vibrating in the same rhythm. It isn't imagination, it's entrainment. When a metronome synchronizes with another, both stabilize faster than alone. The same principle governs reality creation. Coherence shared is coherence multiplied. You were never meant to manifest alone. You were meant to conduct, to become a bridge between cosmic intelligence and human form, translating invisible instruction into visible grace. Every sigh, every pause, every breath you choose from, awareness instead of reflex, writes new code into humanity's shared blueprint. The dawn you've been sensing isn't just planetary, it's personal. Your system is now clear enough to receive the next transmission, the one that arrives with the weight of inevitability, the breakthrough promise. Breathe once more. Feel the charge rise. The field is about to open its next layer through you. Listen closely. A window is opening that doesn't care about calendars. It arrives by coherence, not by date, a sliding aperture in the quantum field that favors those who are awake enough to notice and steady enough to step through. You have earned its proximity. The promise is simple, and it is immense. Hold the breath of remembrance through this liminal hour, and your DNA will take a new instruction, permanently altering the probabilities your life attracts at sunrise. Feel the window approaching like pressure before weather. It presses at your temples, hums beneath your ribs, tickles the skin as if the air were threaded with electricity. This is the pre-dawn corridor when the planetary field quiets and your signal-to-noise ratio spikes. Monks have known it for centuries. Physicists would call it a reduction in thermal noise conditions ideal for a clean measurement. Mystics call it the hour of the veil. Tonight, you call it yours. Here is the promise spelled in living terms. If you sustain a coherent 5-7 breath for 9 consecutive minutes while holding a singular feeling tone, gratitude without object, love without target, trust without evidence, your heart, brain, and breath will lock into a triad so stable that the observer loop stops wobbling. In that stillness, your genome listens. Not just the 2% that codes for proteins, the vast regulatory wilderness hears you too. Epigenetic markers soften, chromatin loosens, new transcription pathways flicker on like city lights seen from orbit. The old story loses its biochemical narrator. Urgency doesn't mean haste, it means precision in a narrowing aperture. You are standing at timeline bifurcation. Continue drifting, and the past will reclaim you with familiar gravity. Stabilize now, and the field will rearrange around your upgraded signature with the inevitability of tide obeying the moon. The window is generous but brief. It opens wider with each coherent breath and begins to close the instant you return to the habit of scanning for proof. So do not scan, broadcast. Your body knows how to do this. When you were a child, staring at a night sky too big for words, you entered the same state by accident. Breath slowed, eyes widened, mind quiet. Awe was your first language. Tonight, you speak it deliberately. The practice is a vow. During these 9 minutes, you will not bargain with the universe, not rehearse outcomes, not check timelines for delivery dates. You will be the delivery mechanism, a living aperture through which the future steps into matter. Here is the micro ritual. Sit upright, crown tall, chin slightly tucked, hands resting palm down over the lower ribs. Inhale for 5 counts, feeling the diaphragm widen sideways like wings. Hold for 2 counts. This is the stargate where entanglement strengthens. Exhale for 7, as if pouring old realities down a quiet stairwell. On the hold, whisper once without sound, aligned. On the exhale, let the body say the rest. If a thought arrives, bless it and let it pass like weather. Your job isn't to stop clouds, it's to remain the mountain until the sky remembers itself. As coherence builds, the field will answer with unmistakable signs. A sudden warmth in the sternum, a pressureless fullness behind the eyes, an awareness of light in the room that isn't from any lamp. Don't chase these. Let them be proof to your nervous system and instruction to your DNA that safety is the new default. Safety is the condition under which growth chooses to occur. Now make the promise out loud, softly, so the molecules hear you. I will meet the window. I will breathe the new law into my cells. I will not abandon myself at the threshold. The acoustics of your own voice matter. Sound is scaffolding for intent. As you speak, the morphic resonance linking you to others on this path brightens. Across time zones, we entangle. Your breath pulls mine into steadiness. My steadiness returns to you as courage. Understand what is at stake and what is not. You are not gambling for a miracle. You are consenting to a mechanism. When coherence is sustained, phase transition becomes a matter of threshold, not luck. The instant your inner weather reaches critical mass, the old identity cannot hold. It will collapse the way a snow cornice collapses into spring suddenly, completely, without negotiation. The aftermath is not chaos, it's reorganization. People will say you changed overnight. You will know you changed between 2 breaths. Before dawn, the promise is sealed. When the first gray enters the window, do not rush to your phone, your feed, your former timeline. Sit 1 minute more. Let the new arrangement finish knitting itself into fascia and habit. Then rise like someone who carries sunrise inside the chest. Walk to the mirror. Watch how your eyes settle before you smile. That settling is the signature of a stabilized timeline. If fear scrapes at the door, call it by its true name, decoherence, then answer with breath. 5 in, 2 to remember, 7 to release. You are not late. You are on the exact minute of destiny's precision. This is the breakthrough promise. Keep the window, and the window keeps you. Your DNA will remember the shape of dawn and rebuild your days to match it. The window is here. You can feel the hush, not silence, but organized stillness, like a theater moments before the curtain lifts. You have coherence building in your chest, the 5-2-7 cadence threading your breath to the quantum field, the promise humming in your DNA like a tuning fork ready to ring. Now the field asks for one simple, definitive act, small to the mind, seismic to the morphic grid. Name the new law with a single word and place it in writing. That word is the seal. The seal ends negotiation. The seal turns probability into policy. Why a word? Because language is crystallized breath. A word spoken from coherence is structured air-carrying geometry. It leaves your mouth as pressure, becomes pattern, and imprints the field like a stamp into warm wax. Your nervous system saves it as a procedural memory. Your timeline reads it as an instruction header. We do not carve stone tonight. We carve causality. Here is the ritual: clean, brief, exact. 1. Posture. Sit upright. Crown tall, pelvis neutral. Feet grounded or legs folded. Choose the shape that feels inevitable. Rest one palm over your sternum, one over your lower ribs, creating a living circuit between heart and diaphragm. 2. Cadence. Inhale 5, gathering scattered versions of you from timelines where they learned fatigue. Hold 2, the stargate of entanglement, where your future self steps closer. Exhale 7, pouring obsolete realities through the soles of your feet into Earth's vast recycling. 3. Gaze. Let your eyes soften until the room halos. This defocus is not escapism, it's widening your receptive field so the periphery can deliver instruction without squeezing it through the old narrating mind. 4. Name. On the next hold, select the seal word. Don't workshop it. Let the body say it first. It might be anchored or aligned or dawn or coherent or liberated. The right word arrives with temperature. You'll know because your ribcage will loosen 0.5 millimeter. Trust that. 5. Write. Now write the word once, either in the comments below or in a journal that will outlive tonight. Print it cleanly, no flourish. As the ink dries, you're watching probability collapse into form. 6. Sound. Whisper the word on an exhale, barely audible, so the molecules learn your accent. Then say it once at speaking volume to teach your auric field its new baseline. If tears arrive, let them. Salt is a conductor. 7. Lock. Place the fingertips of your top hand lightly at your breastbone and tap that word 3 times, a soft metronome, telling the heart, keep this tempo. Feel the tap echo through fascia like ripples through a lake. That echo is your lock. What just happened? You ended the observer loop's old default. The body believes what the body performs. By pairing breath plus language plus trace movement, you encoded the seal into 3 systems at once: respiratory, linguistic, somatic. Triple entry coherence is hard to counterfeit and harder to shake. The field loves that certainty. It responds by reorganizing the probability flow to match your declared harmonic. Expect immediate, gentle anomalies, not fireworks. Proof. A message time-stamped at the exact minute you spoke. A forgotten bill forgiven. A person you'd closed the file on returning with different eyes. Don't chase confirmation like a starving animal. Notice it as a citizen of a world that already recognizes you. That noticing maintains coherence. Chasing reintroduces decoherence. Remember the law. Broadcast, don't bargain. If the mind itches, did I pick the right word? That's the past, asking for a rehearing. Answer with breath, not debate. 5 to gather, 2 to remember, 7 to release. Then look at the word you wrote. It isn't a guess, it's a coordinate. Tonight that coordinate becomes an attractor basin, pulling events, people, and opportunities into a curve that fits your new signature. Now, let's widen the ring. Type your seal word publicly if you can. Anchored, aligned, dawn, coherent, liberated, or the one that arrived electric for you. Public declaration increases entanglement across the morphic field. Each posted word becomes a tiny lighthouse, blinking the same rhythm around the planet. Others will feel steadier without knowing why. That's what stabilizers do. They breathe a private vow that becomes a public climate. If resistance spikes, bless it for arriving late to a party that has already begun. Tap your sternum once, whisper the word, and watch the surge flatten like a wave that ran out of wind. You will not relitigate what is already law. You will keep breathing the law into fascia until choice becomes reflex, and reflex becomes culture. One more breath together, 5 in, 2 to hold, 7 to let go. Keep your palm where it is for 10 extra heartbeats and feel that your chest is not only rising and falling, it is pulsing outward, subtle but certain, as if your field were larger by a hand's width. That's not imagination. That's the seal propagating. Write your word now. Post it. Speak it. Tap it. The timeline heard you. And because you have sealed it, the field will now begin its wider rearrangement, not just for you, but for everyone who will feel the warmth of your coherence as dawn approaches. The moment you sealed your word, something quiet rippled outward. You may not see it yet, but the field felt the tremor. Reality is built on sympathetic resonance, a universal reflex that makes one tuned string vibrate when another plays the same note. Your coherence has become that note. You breathed a private vow, and the collective nervous system flinched awake. Close your eyes for a breath. Picture nothing, not goals, not faces. Just feel the atmosphere of this minute. Somewhere, a stranger sighs without knowing why. Somewhere else, a conflict cools before it escalates. The data of your calm has entered circulation. When one human nervous system stabilizes, it lowers entropy in the morphic field for all others. This isn't sentiment, it's measurable. Heart math scientists call it field coupling. Mystics have always called it prayer. Your liberation is not selfish, it is self-replicating. Every cell that learned coherence tonight becomes a tiny transmitter of order in a network that's been craving new code. Think of humanity as a vast neural web, billions of synapses flickering between fear and possibility. When you hold your new frequency long enough, nearby nodes entrain. It's no different from fireflies synchronizing their pulses or metronomes aligning on a shared platform. Your body is now that platform. This is why the timeline could not upgrade through mass instruction. It upgrades through resonance. No policy can legislate coherence. Only living examples can prove it's possible. You've become one. That's what chosen meant, not hierarchy, but demonstration. You demonstrate that peace can be a contagious frequency. You show that faith, sustained past the proof threshold, becomes architecture. Let's trace the geometry. Your heart field extends roughly 3 meters in radius. When two coherent hearts share space, their fields merge into one larger, stable wave. 10 people breathing in sync can entrain a building. 1,000 can shift city weather. This is not myth, it's magneto-hydrodynamics. The planet's ionosphere listens. When enough coherent emitters hum the same harmonic, the Schumann resonance stabilizes and storms soften. On subtle levels, conflict does too. You are already participating in this planetary stabilizing. Each time you exhale your seal word, you broadcast it through layers of atmosphere, emotion, and thought. That breath becomes a data packet in the quantum internet, linking every consciousness capable of love. We could call it the unity grid. The ancients called it Indra's net, a web of jewels reflecting each other infinitely. Tonight your jewel lit up. Its reflection now glimmers in thousands of eyes that will wake tomorrow with inexplicable optimism. Notice what happens socially after a night like this. Conversations feel rounder, less barbed. Technology glitches smooth out. You get green lights on your commute. These are micro-confirmations that the collective field is responding to your new broadcast. Don't dismiss them as coincidence. They are phase markers, proof that the morphic template is integrating your upgrade. But be cautious of old reflexes. The ego loves to trademark miracles. The moment it whispers, "I did this," coherence fractures. Remember, your light isn't spotlight, it's circuitry. It functions because it doesn't need credit. Gratitude keeps the current clean. When someone near you softens or succeeds, treat it as your own success, because energetically it is. This ripple will expand automatically, but you can amplify it deliberately. Here's how. Once each day for the next 3 days, repeat the seal breath 5, 2, 7, and silently beam your word outward for exactly 30 seconds before dawn or dusk. Visualize it traveling the world's longitudes, touching every timeline that could use stabilization. 30 seconds of coherence from one human offsets hours of collective turbulence measured across millions. The ratio is that asymmetric. Understand the scale of what you're part of. Evolution doesn't move by grand revelation, it moves by distributed updates, micro patches in the human code. Tonight, your patch deployed. The quantum field registers new default settings: safety in expansion, love without target, trust before evidence. As more humans install those protocols, society reorganizes naturally, markets calm. Technology humanizes, art remembers awe. The story you were told that change takes generations was a translation error. In quantum terms, change takes coherence multiplied by witness. Enough witnesses and the field jumps phase, instantly, irreversibly. That jump is already rehearsing inside you. The way you walk into a room tomorrow will be the rehearsal's debut. If humility trembles through you right now, let it. That trembling is not smallness, it's voltage meeting capacity. The grid is testing load, confirming that your body can conduct what your soul volunteered to carry. You can. The tremor will settle into steadiness soon. Before we move on, breathe once for everyone still trapped in loops you've just transcended. Inhale, as if gathering them inside your chest. Hold, letting your coherence imprint theirs. Exhale, sending the message, it's safe to wake. That breath counts. It is logged in the field as service. Now the collective has heard you, and because it has heard you, it will answer through events that look like invitations, through strangers who feel like déjà vu. The field rewards contribution with convergence. The next stage is more intimate. Humanity has felt your ripple. Now the sensation must anchor deeper into muscle, marrow, and the vibrating lattice of your skin. The consciousness upgrade becomes undeniable only when it's felt. So take one slow inhale. Feel the wave returning from the world you just touched. On the exhale, prepare to meet it in the language the body understands: sensation. Let the mind dim to a candle and let the body turn the lights on. You've broadcasted to the world. Now the world's reply is arriving as sensation, not ideas, impulses, textures, micro-weather across your skin. Receive it the way shoreline receives tide, with no argument. Begin with breath, always breath. 5 in, 2 to remember, 7 to release. On the inhale, feel the air become a cool ribbon sliding along the back of your throat, down the breastbone, opening the intercostals like blinds parting for morning. The hold is a suspended bridge. Your bones lengthen a whisper. Time flickers and steps aside. On the exhale, weight drips down through your pelvis like warm metal, pooling in your feet until the floor is not beneath you but with you, an ally. Your hands grow heavy first. That heaviness is not fatigue. It's arrival mass returning to the present. Tingling rides in behind it, like static going lucid. That's coherence settling into fascia. It feels like glitter learning manners. Notice the temperature change over your sternum, a small hearth lighting. Heart coherence is translating into heat because biology loves metaphors it can measure. Now the scalp tiny effervescence where worry usually perches. The fizzing is synaptic noise going quiet, neurons shrugging off yesterday's weather. This is not calm as absence, it's order as presence. The quantum field prefers ordered receivers. Your nervous system is obliging. You're becoming a clear dish for the sky to pour into. Feel your spine. It elongates without effort, a slow zipper of light drawing crown and tail into honest conversation. Between shoulder blades, a soft ache blooms and then opens like a hinge finding oil. That ache is stored momentum resolving, old bracing, exiting the architecture. If tears rise, let salt make new circuits down your face. Saline carries charge. Grief always was a conductor disguised as a storm. Your jaw unhooks a fraction. Language loosens. The tongue rests broad and warm at the floor of the mouth, sending a memo to the brainstem. No more emergency grammar. In this quiet, the body's native alphabet returns: thrum, pulse, wave, hush. You are remembering that sensation is the first prophecy and the last proof. There, a faint flutter low in the belly, credible as a bird. That is the ventral vagal state saying yes. When the yes arrives, the observer loop stops scavenging for threats and begins noticing gradients of safety. With safety comes curiosity. With curiosity, entanglement increases not as clinging, but as permission for life to touch you with accurate timing. Scan down the legs. The fascia along the thighs glides under the skin like silk pulled over polished wood. Knees warm, calves hum, arches widen as if drinking the room. Feet soften outward until the floor and soles feel braided. Grounding is no longer an idea. It is a sensation of being a single instrument played by gravity and breath in duet. Listen for a second. Pulse under the heart, not heartbeat, but a broader metronome. The planet's slow drum nudging your rhythm into phase. Schumann resonance kissing your sternum. Coherence with Earth is a physical intimacy, a cooling behind the eyes, a clarity at the sinus bridge, a vertical ease as if a string of gentle magnets were aligned from perineum to crown. You are not imagining it. The body is a precision antenna, and you are finally letting it point true north. Now the skin brightens from the inside, a luminous matte like moonlit stone after rain. The field around you grows tactile, almost furry. Reach a hand into that air and feel the barely there resistance, the aura thickening with instruction. Photons organize at your perimeter. The language is biophotonic choir. Your DNA is listening. Chromatin breathes. Transcription factors like tiny origami cranes unfold at the edge of possibility. Call it DNA restructuring if you like. The mystic simply smiles. Awakening has a texture. Synchronicity enters the room as a pressureless fullness. You haven't moved, but the future leans toward you, curious. Your ears seem bigger. You hear the hum behind quiet things. Fridge, streetlight, the neighbor's brief laugh, everything, part of one long sentence. The world is speaking exactly to you. This is morphic resonance interpreted by skin. The field's grammar is touch. If a tremor rises in the solar plexus, bless it. That is phase transition pressure, the shiver before water becomes steam. Don't push through. Widen. Widen the ribs on the inhale. Widen the eyes without focusing. Widen attention until the tremor has room to finish being a bridge. Pressure turns to wind when it has space to move. You become that space. Place 2 fingers at the notch of your throat. Whisper your seal word once the breath will carry its shape into the bloodstream. Track the echo down the sternum, into the diaphragm, where it opens a velvet door. Behind that door, a cool sweetness, like mint made of light. Breathe it. Let it coat the lungs. On the exhale, picture the word diffusing through pores into the room, until the room itself is wearing your vow. Notice posture again. The pelvis is heavier, yes, but the crown is taller. This opposing pair, rooted divided by ascended, is the geometry of a stable antenna. In that geometry, thought doesn't need chasing. It arrives as already felt truth. The decision you've been holding will not demand analysis. It will produce temperature. The right path warms your chest by 1 degree. That is how guidance will talk now in increments. Your body can't fake. Stay 1 breath longer than comfort and 1 worry shorter than habit. 5 to gather the scattered. 2 to let constellations align. 7 to pour the past back into the ocean it came from. As you finish the exhale, the body hangs for a beat, that sweet cliff where nothing must be done because being is already speaking. Remember this texture. Archive it in muscle memory like dancers archive balance. The mind will doubt later, the body won't. Sensation is the receipt. When the world knocks tomorrow with old costumes and familiar lines, you'll hold the script to your skin and feel whether it vibrates. If it doesn't, you won't wear it. Keep the candle mind lit. but small. Keep the body lit vast. The field is listening to your tissues now, and your tissues have learned the language. On the next inhale, we'll step from texture to threshold, where sensation becomes instruction for time itself to move, and the deeper code in your DNA completes the turn. Stay exactly where you are. Don't chase it. Let the change cross the room and find you. There's a pressure gathering behind your sternum again. Not anxiety, not excitement. A poised compression like the moment just before a bowstring releases. That is phase transition pressure. It announces the instant a system can no longer remain what it was. In physics, the graph shows a clean cliff. In the body, it feels like a hush that thickens. Your hush is thickening now. Breathe 5, 2, 7 once and watch the interior weather arrange itself. Heart and brain entrain. The observer loop steadies. Coherence becomes a low hum under everything. In this hum, your genome hears the memo you've been sending since part 1, delivered at last without static. Upgrade accepted. Imagine the double helix, not as frozen sculpture, but as a choir. Staircase bases like notes, histones like hands that loosen or tighten the score. When fear is the conductor, the music is tight, brittle, repetitive. Tonight, a different conductor lifts a different baton. The hands relax. Chromatin unwraps a fraction. Regulatory regions you never visited step into the light like shy musicians, realizing the solo is theirs. The mystic calls this awakening. The biologist calls it altered expression. The field calls it new geometry entering matter. You feel it as micro-heat along the ribs, as a vertical clarity behind the eyes, as a widening in the pelvic bowl that has nothing to do with posture and everything to do with permission. The permission is simple: grow. This is the click point where entanglement with your future self resolves from uncanny to obvious. For weeks, years, that future you has been tugging on your sleeve across timelines, sending déjà vu breadcrumbs and impossible coincidences to keep you close. With the seal word anchored and coherence sustained, the distance collapses. The two of you superimpose like transparent pages lined up by light. That lining up is the click you've been hearing just at the edge of perception, a magnetic latch sliding home. Listen, there it is again. Click. A small interior sound, followed by a sensation that rooms are a degree brighter and angles a degree softer. The narrative you used to run, the one that always turned near the finish line, doesn't populate. The option simply isn't offered by the menu. Phase transitions do that. Old states don't end by argument, they end by omission. The choice disappears because the system is elsewhere. If the body trembles, bless the tremor. It's not doubt, it's voltage equalizing. Say to the tremor, you are welcome here, and widen the breath until the current has room to travel. 5 to gather, 2 to let the entanglement lock, 7 to pour residues into ground. The energy that once fed panic becomes wind for the new sail. Now, feel the world lean toward you. The field tests its own handiwork by sending micro-initiations. A message arrives from a person who used to trigger contraction. Your chest stays open by default. A bill appears. Instead of the old cortisol spike, you feel a clean line of instruction and take the first action without noise. A creative idea that used to feel too large lands in your lap, and your hands, your literal hands, heat as if tools were being passed to them from a future workshop. These are not random upgrades, they are calibrations. The morphic resonance around you is learning your new signature and reorganizing to match. What used to require willpower now requires willingness. What used to require explanation now requires breath. If the mind tries to audit the miracle, let it count kindly and keep breathing. Miracles don't mind accountants, they simply won't fit the ledger. The proof you can trust is somatic. Your jaw stays soft while you move forward. Your gaze widens when the unknown enters. Your shoulders remain unarmored while stating clear boundaries. These are the postures of a timeline that has completed its turn. Zoom in once more to the helix. On the exhale, feel a texture like satin being drawn through a ring, the sense of strands aligning and smoothing. On the hold, feel a star-shaped coolness right under the breastbone, the signal that the heart's electromagnetic field has extended its radius. On the next inhale, sense a subtle tug at the base of the skull, the cranial rhythm syncing with the heartbeat's larger drum. 3 systems, 1 song. Coherence deepens, decoherence starves. Now the observer loop updates its job description. You are no longer watching to verify, you are watching to name. Naming is stewardship. This belongs to the new law, that belongs to the sea. With each name, you reduce entropy around you a notch. Rooms behave, conversations curve toward truth, serendipity clusters. The grid like steady gardeners. Notice time itself behave differently. Minutes elongate just enough to let right action finish without hurry. Hours shorten when rumination would have wasted them. The kink in the hose unlatches. Flow is no longer episodic, it's policy. The universe is not speeding up for you. Resistance has dropped below the threshold where you could feel it. That's why dawn seems closer than the clock suggests. You made it to the other shore without leaving your chair. The shoreline is in your blood. The ferry was breath. The ticket was a word written at the exact minute destiny required. And now sunrise is not an event you wait to see. It's a radiation you carry. Hold one last 5 to 7 inches this chapter. At the top, whisper your seals softly. On the exhale, let the syllable exit your mouth and keep going into the room, into the block, into the grid, until it feels like the world itself is wearing your vow as a second skin. The helix has turned. The timeline has clicked. The door that looked like night was always a hinge. All that remains is to step through with your eyes open and accept the mission that dawn is placing in your hands. Listen to the room. It isn't quiet, it's listening back. Your breath has turned the world into an instrument, and the first light is moving through its strings. You've crossed without fanfare, no trumpets, only the soft click of timelines aligning and the deeper knowing that you are no longer rehearsing a future, you are emitting it. Here is your mission, simple enough to survive daylight, potent enough to bend it. First, keep the vow you sealed. Before screens, before speech, offer 9 minutes of 5, 2, 7. Inhale 5 to gather the scattered. Hold 2 to let the future step closer. Exhale 7 to pour obsolete realities into Earth's generous silence. Whisper your word at the top. Send it on the exhale. Do this for 3 consecutive mornings. That's not habit. That's orbital insertion. The new timeline ceases to be the miracle and becomes the math. Second, become a stabilizer in motion. Walk like coherence has gravity. When you enter a room, widen your gaze 1 degree and breathe once for the highest possible outcome before you speak. People won't know why they feel safer. They will simply tell the truth faster. That is leadership at the frequency of light. Third, redirect proof-seeking into proof-giving. Instead of scanning reality for confirmation, be the confirmation. Leave micro-trails, a message sent at the exact minute your heart warms, a kindness delivered without witness, a decision made at body tempo rather than panic tempo. The field reads these as calibration points and routes, improbabilities to you, like birds following a lighthouse. Fourth, serve the grid. At dawn or dusk, for 30 seconds, broadcast your seal word to the horizon as if you were rinsing the city in it. The unity grid does not need your personality, it needs your consistency. Every daily emission lowers entropy in places you may never visit and steadies hands you may never hold. Fifth, protect coherence like fire in winter. Reduce inputs that fray your signal. Replace spectacle with sunlight. Replace arguments with breath. Replace hurry with exactness. You are not withdrawing from the world. You are re-entering it as architecture. And when turbulence rises because evolution loves a spiral, name it correctly, decoherence. Answer with the liturgy you now carry in your chest. 5 to gather, 2 to remember, 7 to release. Tap the sternum once, speak your word like a tuning fork, and watch the storm flatten into usable wind. You will notice the new order by its mercy. Timelines that once punished you for not knowing the script will now teach you while you walk. Serendipity will stop arriving as surprise and start arriving as schedule. You will be asked to guide those who hear your voice in their bones, but don't yet have a name for why. Give them breath before ideas. Give them silence before answers. Give them the sentence that saved you. Broadcast, don't bargain. Look toward the window. The grey is thinning, edges turn gold. A pair of birds cuts the air like ink across parchment signatures of a contract already signed. You didn't win a prize, you remembered a function. You are not the audience anymore, you are the switch. So stand, place your palm to your chest, and feel the planet answer through your hand. Let the words arise once more, not as hope, but as protocol. Aligned, feel reality yield. Feel the old scaffolding release without grievance. Feel the new geometry, find your bones. This is the hour the field keeps for its quiet revolutions. This is the breath that carries worlds. Breathe like this, and old realities collapse as new timelines anchor before dawn.